I'm in Brighton, and I have the pleasure of meeting Mike Potter, who is the founder of Harry's Tricks, which is a group that does gigs in and around Brighton, and they're pretty well known on the circuit, and they play every Sunday at the Seven Stars, which is in fact where I came across Mike. So Mike, you haven't got your hat on today, which is your signature, your look.
Just over there.
Yeah, it's over there. Well, too late now. Tell me how you got started. You were living in Bournemouth when you were younger.
Yes. My mother got me an electric guitar in concession to my interest in punk music. I don't think.
Oh yes, you were a punk. Yes, you were a Mohican. You told me.
Yeah.
But that was a little later.
When I left home, I got at the age of 16 and moved into Bournemouth, working in a print shop and
in Norwich.
No, in Bournemouth.
Oh, Bournemouth. Okay.
Yeah,
with red hair.
Yes.
Yeah. You were crestfallen.
Very rebellious at that time. There wasn't many people around now. They're everywhere, but
yeah.
I was very interested in the guitar, but it just expressing myself really. And I was looking for culture, and the only culture I could find was the punk culture, which wasn't really for me, but it was the best I could do at the time.
Right.
But then my sister was living in Norwich. She invited me over there. And I'd sort of learnt to tune the guitar, and I'd learnt some rhythm, and I'd sort of learnt a few things off of records and things. And then I went off to Norwich and met up with students who were a nice bunch of friendly, easier going types. And we used to jam. We ended up with a band called King of the Flapping Wires. We did a few little gigs at the university and stuff like this. And
what were you studying at university?
I wasn't studying anything.
I
didn't go to university. I just went there because
University of Life.
Yes. And so I carried on along that vein, and I got some part-time cleaning jobs, and then I found I could go busking and make a few pennies, and that was a massive boost.
How much could you make a day then? Busking?
You might make 20 quid if you were lucky, which was a lot of money for me at that
time. Yeah. What year was that?
Well, that was 1992, something like that.
1992?
92, something like that, yeah. I carried on, still busk to this day. So,
and you love the freedom of busking. You said.
Yeah, it was like the ultimate escape. Suddenly you don't have to go through any formality, and having not enjoyed school and formalities in general, the idea
God
of
forbid
being able
working 9 to 5. Ooh, in an office.
All these things terrified me.
Yeah, don't blame you.
But that was an incredible feeling. I could make some money for the day or more sometimes, and so it made me take myself seriously as an artist and what I was doing. And
but you met your brother-in-law, and he had a big influence on you, didn't you?
Yes,
didn't he?
Yes, because he was a classically trained guitarist, and he took my songwriting seriously. And my songwriting at this, I just started singing my own songs. I wouldn't sing anyone else's songs, and he was fascinated by my songwriting because it was completely from nowhere. It was an informal.
Well, it was poetry.
Yeah, it was
poetry to music.
Yeah, exactly. And I had no formal training whatsoever. So, but he took it. He liked it, and he took it interest, and he created some beautiful guitar work to go with what we're doing.
Oh, wonderful! Did you do any recordings?
We did. Yeah. We've got. I think we had a Cheese String from Mars or something. It was an old earliest cassette tape that we made of recordings. Of all my own songs.
Right.
But then we got offered a gig because he was working as a classical guitarist for a restaurant, and then they offered him. They said, "Look, we want something for New Year's Eve. Can you do a gig?" And I was like, "Well, I don't play any covers at all." So in 2 weeks, I had to learn about 30 covers and go in there and do this gig for £100, which was nerve-wracking.
Which would have been a lot of money as well.
And I was like, okay, and I worked really hard to get these songs. And we did the gig. It didn't go too well.
Oh wow!
We didn't get asked back.
Yeah. Did you get paid?
We got paid, but it
they gave you a meal.
They gave us a meal and they paid us, but
okay.
We didn't make ourselves a demand. But,
no, you didn't get a repeat performance.
No, but it was by that point. That meant we started doing pub gigs and we started doing tours, and then we got a little band together called Tulip Tree, with a lady on stilts playing a snare drum, and another guy who made a tea-chest bass.
Yeah.
And we went round a few. I used to send these applications to festivals, started doing some hippie festivals and going around the.
And your brother-in-law, what was his name?
His Andy Kirkham.
And is he still in Norwich?
He's still in Norwich, and he's still recording and he's still performing. Yes, a wonderful guitarist, and songwriter, and arranger for.
Is he a professional?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
So we eventually parted ways, because I was pushing in. I got into the swing music thing, and I got very interested in that. I had my other brother-in-law gave me a cassette tape with Andrew Sisters on one side and Fats Waller on the other.
Oh, right.
And I listened to it. I was hitchhiking to Ireland and I travelled around Ireland.
I remember you telling me this on the radio.
Guitar,
yeah.
With a tent and guitar on my thumb, and I listened to this cassette tape obsessively, I'd never heard anything like it, or at least I hadn't thought I had. Apparently, my grandfather used to have me on his lap when he was listening to Fats Waller when I was a baby.
And what was Fats Waller playing?
Well, the one that I can remember, Feet's Too Big, which was...
Feet's Too Big?
My Feet's Too Big. Wonderful recording of Fats Waller doing that.
I'll have to listen to that.
I'd never heard anything like it. It was funny and well performed. And, there was When Someone Thinks You're Wonderful. Both songs I still perform.
Yes.
But then I realised this was a part of a greater genre, and that once you started tapping into this, there was...
Absolutely.
There was many decades of this music performed by many different people.
But how did you develop your style? Because you've got a very special sort of falsetto style, singing nostalgia music, sort of Noel Coward type music.
Yeah, well, what happened, I think for a long time, I was a rhythm guitarist, and I was before Harry's Tricks became a very good platform to develop jamming and playing with other people a lot more in lots of combinations and working with jazz musicians, which was a new thing for me. I very much enjoyed the old fashioned. My first band in Brighton, the Fridge Magnets. We had Al Bowley recordings. I discovered the old English pop music, and we made little arrangements with the limited instruments we had from those recordings. And I really loved that old style of singing. And anyway, so I went off on a tangent and sort of explored.
When you say old style, you mean from the 20s and 30s?
Well, yes, when the microphone hadn't taken over and they were still projecting a lot, so they had the style was very different from how it was after the microphone. But there was a crossover period where the crooners first started.
Oh, I love the crooners. 1950s.
Well, that's later. They started with Bing Crosby more in the
40s.
late 20s was really
as early as the 20s.
The crooning started. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And all the dance bands had the popular singers, and all these singers were absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So I started listening to all of that, and then got very influenced like that. But I didn't concentrate on that. Yeah, swing dance music. But I didn't concentrate on that style till later, really. And then I found that jamming with jazz musicians was a good way to hone my craft. And
had you moved to Brighton by this time?
Yeah,
okay, because there are so many musicians in Brighton, a lot of talent around.
There is indeed, yeah. I work with a pool of about 20 or 30 great musicians here from all different backgrounds, and every week I do this session in the Seven Stars where I've been doing it for 10 years now, that session, and I form a new band every week now.
Oh, you're talking about the Seven Stars?
Yeah. Literally last week we had a band together again with a combination of musicians that had never happened before.
But don't you do rehearsals with these people in advance, or you just do it spontaneously?
I have a system where I've got 7 books with chord charts in, and I put the chord charts, they're written out really big, and I put them in front of the band, and then if they all just go, right, I'm going to make my interpretation from that, and then I lead from there. And then
we'll continue talking about that in part 2. Thank you, Mike.